Hello, so this week is really exciting for me. It's a collaboration between my favourite Indian restaurant and ourselves, Urban Choola in Sheffield on Ecclesall Road. It's a restaurant we absolutely love. First time I went there, I couldn't believe how good it was, and we've eaten in many top Indian restaurants. It's actually, the director's also a director of Down, which is a really critically acclaimed restaurant in London. So, first thing, we've got this beetroot tiki. So it's basically beetroot, potatoes, ginger, etc. It's just been kind of breadcrumbed. So we're going to deep fry this, so you'll need a pan. Now, don't overcrowd the pan. It needs to be deep enough to hold it all, or if you're going to shallow fry it, obviously you'll have to turn them. You want the oil at about 180, 190 degrees. Now, obviously, if you've got a temperature probe, that's great. If not, there's a couple of ways of telling. You can throw in a piece of bread about an inch sort of size. It should take 60 seconds to brown. Or the old trick that lots of people use. This is kind of a bit of an Italian grandmother's thing, I think. Is you take a wooden spoon, if you just come in and stick it in there, and you'll find that it kind of sizzles like that. So if it's not doing that, then it's not hot enough. And if it's doing it crazy, it's too hot. So just a kind of gentle release of bubbles. Then we know it's spot on. Okay. Right, I'm happy with that. So obviously, deep frying is dangerous. Make sure you've got a fully wrunged out damp cloth in case you have to put it over the top of it. Don't overcrowd the pan. Make sure you've got plenty of space, because as you put it in, the moisture from it will make bubbles and it'll rise. When you pop the tiki in, do it with something like a fish slice like this. Don't just drop them in there. Get a little bit of movement just so they don't stick together. And if you're doing a few of these, say if there's 4 of you, doing 2 batches, do a couple unless you've got a really big pan, and then pop it in the oven. So 2 to keep warm in the oven, and then do the other 2. I'll come back to you in a minute when these are actually cooked. They've been cooking for 4 or 5 minutes, and they're nice and golden. So I'm just going to drain them off. And just let them sit for a minute, just to kind of cook through. And because if we put the garnish on it straight away while they're red hot, it'll just melt everywhere. So I'll just do 1 minute. Right then, so these are ready. They've sat for a little minute. I'm just going to take a little bit of this. It's strained curds. So it's yogurt, thick yogurt that's been drained overnight, and then it's got a tarka in it. So it's like tempered spices. Basically curry leaves, mustard seeds, etc. So I'll pop some on there to hold them in place, like that. Then I'm just going to pop some on top. A little bit on top there. And then, obviously you can just eat them like that, but I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of garnish on them, just because I'm rather partial to a bit of ginger. So, a bit of ginger on there. Touch of chilli. This is just me messing about, you don't need to do that. Right, I'm just going to give you the money shot now. I'll just cut one open. There we go. Enjoy. So now for the main event. We've got a beautiful English lamb shank, locally produced. It's going to be in this lovely lamb mass curry. So it's made with special chilies. There's no tomato in this sauce, it's just pure caramelised onion and chilies that are cooked down. Really, really mild chilies. Gives it a beautiful, beautiful flavour. It's an incredible dish. So we've tried various ways of cooking this, reheating it. We were going to put it in a bag for you to boil, etc. But with a bone, it's a bit difficult. But I've tried this method and it works perfect. So what we need to do is put this in the microwave with a lid just slightly ajar for about 2.5 minutes if you've got like an 850 microwave. Obviously, if it's 900, 1000, whatever, just reduce the cooking time. We just want to heat it through. It will heat quite quickly because the bone actually heats the inside of the shank. So obviously you have to do them in batches. If you've got 4, you have to do one, then the other, then the other. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it in a pan. But I'm not going to kind of cook it hard. I'm just going to really, really gently just kind of let it cook and let the sort of sauce amalgamate. So as you do these, get a large pan. So this is just for kind of one. I could fit 2 in here, but if you've got 4, obviously you're going to need a larger pan. And then put it on a low heat. So say for instance, my hob goes up to 15, so I'll put it on 5. So if you're up to 10, you want it on 2 or 3. And it'll just sit there at that temperature. It's going to be absolutely fine. It's not going to overcook or anything. So just do them in batches, pop them into the pan, then just keep them there. I'm going to explain to you now how to do the garnish, the bread, etc. So to go with it, we're going to have some incredible rice and this misi roti. So this is, it might be a little bit tough to get out of there. This is basically, it's a roti, but it's made with besan, or sometimes called gram flour, which is essentially chickpeas. Really easy to prepare. Just a little bit of plain flour. It might be misshapen when you take it out, so just kind of form it into a round. Flour it both sides. I'm just going to roll it out. So keep turning it 45 degrees. Starts to get misshapen, you can kind of do it between turns, a little bit like that. Obviously it doesn't have to be perfectly round. And then at this stage, when it's kind of still relatively thin, but flattening out a bit, we cover some onions on it. Just distribute them evenly. Press them in. I think the best thing with this then is to just pop a little sheet of cling film or a baking parchment over the top and just give it a quick roll just to kind of stick it in there. I've not got any to hand, so I'm just going to use the rolling pin. Well, that's it, ready to go now. To cook the rotis, we're going to do them in this pan. Just I've got a tiny bit of oil or ghee in there, just to start off. I'm just going to pop them in there. Obviously make sure that it's the right size for your pan. Flatten it out. And it's really important with this that you actually cook it really well. So we want to make sure all the chickpea flour is cooked out. So you want a medium heat. You don't want it too high. And it should take a while to cook. You'll see it'll start to go a lighter colour. Now I've rolled this quite thin, so it's quite delicate with the onions in it. So it's going to cook in a relatively quick time. Obviously, if it's slightly thicker, it's going to cook. It's going to take even longer to cook. So it's going to wait till that. You can see now on these bits here where it's actually starting to dry out a little bit. Obviously, around the onions where there's moisture, it takes longer to cook out. I can see that this is kind of cooking through now. It's sort of hardening up. It's got an even colour over it, so I'm just going to flip it to the other side. Just keep cooking it. I'm just going to cook this side now. It's cooked through now, really happy with it. Just to finish this, like you would a roti, a little bit of butter over the top. And again, if you do these in batches, you can layer up with greaseproof in a low oven, just to keep them warm. The rice at Urban Choola is really, really special, and they use an incredible quality basmati, and it has this amazing kind of long grain to it, which is sensational. The basic spices that they use in there are black cardamom, which has got a lovely smoky flavour, jeera, cassia bark, and these amazing bay leaves, big gigantic bay leaves. They're just tempered. The rice is soaked and it's cooked in a special way that they showed me to start it off with extra water on it, then keep cooking it and cooking it and cooking it till it's the same level and cook it out. And then it's just finished with some saffron. Obviously rice is a high risk food. It's spore forming, so you've got to make sure that it's reheated really, really well. The best way to do this by far is in a microwave. I would give that a couple of minutes, give it a stir, check the centre of it, i.e. like put a fork or something in there, make sure it's red hot, and then probably give it another blast as well for another 30 seconds or so, just to make sure that it's completely cooked through. Obviously you don't want to dry it out, so don't go crazy with it, but just make sure it's well reheated basically. We're ready to plate it. The rice, I just want to show you this, look. Super, super light. Beautiful, beautiful white rice. Wonderful fragrance, just the best rice. Amazing. So I'm just going to pop that in a separate bowl. Obviously you can serve it together. It's quite a lot, so I'm just going to put a little bit in, because obviously you've got the roti as well. And get my rice. Just going to pop this in there. Then just if the sauce is split out a little bit, just stir it together, just to let it come together. Don't add any water to this at any point. It's quite important now, because it'll just dilute the flavour. So there we have it. Incredible. Beautiful lal mas, amazing misi roti, and just the best pilau rice. For the final course, I've created a special dish just for this menu. I'm not using a traditional Indian recipe. It's something I've created using sort of broadly Asian ingredients, but with some European techniques. So it's a bit of a fusion, really. The basis of it is, it's kind of a plena pavlova. So we've got a meringue here, Italian meringue, but it's a caramel meringue and it's flavoured with green cardamom. Really, really fragrant and aromatic. You've got some cream you're going to need to whip. So I was going to give you whipped, but sometimes it kind of like over whips as it goes in the fridge and splits. So it just needs to be whipped lightly. And all I'm going to do is, first of all, I'll put a little bit in the base. Put the meringue on. Then we'll pop some more in the centre. And obviously it depends how much you like cream. I haven't sweetened this because the meringue is very sweet. So onto the main events, and these are just the most incredible, fragrant Pakistani mangoes that are just unbelievable. We get these from KD Davis and Sons. They're absolute peak condition, so ripe and beautiful. Pop them on top. Then we've got some pineapple. The pineapple's in a syrup that I've made from lemongrass and ginger. So So we just pop some of this around and pop some ginger in as well. And add a little bit of the syrup. So then, to add a bit of sourness to it, beautiful passion fruit. We've got some freeze-dried passion fruit as well. Gives another sour note. Just a little bit of garnish. There we go. So that's our Asian-inspired pavlova to finish your meal. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think it's been an amazing meal. And we really, really appreciate it if you tag us on all social media, The Kitchen and Cook, that's on Instagram, Gourmet Dining Room on Facebook, or Michael Price. Thank you.